Welcome to the fastest stop in town. Today on Masechtas Bava Metzia, Daf Yud. We're going to begin on Yud and Alf, about 10 lines in the top. Rav Nachman and Rav Chisda and Rabbi Tervayu, they both say that Hamagbim Metzia Chavero Lo Kana Chavero. Now we learned actually in Daf Ches that according to one opinion, if you lift up an object for the sake of your friend, so then you can be kind on their behalf. But according to this, it doesn't work. My timer, because since you're picking it up, says Rashi, the typhus mamon chavero b'shvil chayv sheyesh la'acher olav, uval l'kadem ad shel yitvasenu bal chayv acher v'nimsa typhus zeh chal b'tfisasai. So basically what you're doing is you're causing other people potential loss. And therefore, since that's the case, you can't be kind for someone else. So let's understand this Rashi again. A person who comes themselves and he grabs money for his friend, he grabs this money for a loan that someone has. And then he comes before he's typhus it, before the Baal Chayv is typhus it, okay, so that's the idea. But typhus the Baal Chayv, Rav Nachman, it's the opposing question of Nachman. Metzias poil la'atzmo. When it comes to a worker who finds a lost object, they get to keep this item for themselves. Now, b'medibur more misman. That's only when the Baal Bayis says, I want you to hoe for me today, and I want you to plow the field with me for today. If he just says, do work, but he doesn't specify, then Metzia shel Adam shel Baal Habayisu. Then it actually goes to the Baal Bayis. This is going to be a kasha. Because we see that Taka, the poil who finds an object, unlike this shita, is kaina. The Baal Bayis is kaina. So let's understand, first of all, the difference is because if he was just generic, so it means I want you to work for me, and whatever it is, you have to do things for my benefit. So if you find an object, then it goes to me. However, if I was specific and I said, this is the task I want you to do, so if you find a mitzvah, you get to keep it. Now this is a kasha. The reality is that his hands are like the Baal Bayis' hands. So it's not like some chavero, some outsider. I understand. But a poil can always quit his job. I feel b'chatzi yom in the middle of the day. Armalei says, okay, it's true, but kol kama lo yahader bei, as long as he doesn't, can Baal Bayisu. Ki yahader bei time achrinahu. The reason why he can quit, as we saw before, actually in Bava Kama, derchsev ki li b'nei so avadim avadai heim v'loi avadim avadim. Also in Kedushin, about the din of Nirtza, that we are avadim to Hashem, but not that we should be an Evid to another Evid. So therefore, we don't have to make ourselves avadim to people. So that's just the reason why it works, that you can quit your job. But as long as you're still working, so when you pick it up, you're picking it up for the sake of the Baal Bayis. Actually, if you pick up an object for your friend, you could be kind it. How do we understand our Mishnah? What's that? It says Rashi, so we said in our Mishnah on Testament Beis, if you're riding an animal and you saw a Metzia and you say to your friend, give that to me, and he takes it and he says, Ani zachisi ba, I wanted to be zoicha it, zoicha ba. So then the other guy is actually zoicha, he gets to keep it. So the question is, why? Why don't we say that when he picked it up, it was already ki'ilu, like it was this other person's, because hamagmim matzil chavero is kana chavero. So the answer is the term tanili v'omer zachali. He said, Give it to me. He didn't say zachali. What does that mean? Says Rashi Tanya, ni zachisibah zachaba. Umashmalon ani zoichaba. Achshav zachaba. Be zoichet now. Ve'afal pi shehigbia latzar chavero. Even though you picked it up for the sake of someone else. That's the reason why it says the word tenoli, v'omer zacha, atoli. That you should be zoichet. That's not the language he used. He said, in the Mishnah, he only said, v'omar tenoli, give it to me. He didn't say be kind it, that he would be kind it when he picks it up. He didn't actually act as his shliach to be kind it at the moment that he picked it up for his friend. It's only on Shas Nesina. He said, give it to me, which is mashma, until you give it to me, so you're able to keep it. He's only able to retract from his shlichus. So if he would pick it up and he was told to be zoichet for me, so then maybe automatically it would go to that guy. However, it only says tenuli. Since he said the list of tenuli, so therefore it doesn't automatically go to this guy. So if he wishes to retract, he would have been able to have done so. Okay. So when we asked the question 8 about Peah, the Chachamim said you can give it to the Ani Hanimsa Rishon. So why do the Rabbanan say that? Why doesn't it say, because you said Harizul Pliny, you give it to Pliny, you don't have to give it to Pliny, you give it to any other person, it doesn't work. And the answer, one answer we said yesterday was because we're talking from an usher to an Ani, we don't say two treat, we don't say tre migu that I could be mafkro and chastam become an ani and migun zacha nafsh zacha chavre, or as we're saying here that it's something which is detrimental for someone else. So when it's any time when you do something but it'll cause a loss for someone else, so then it won't work. Okay. Question TA 26. Ma'atam the magbia matzil chaver lo kana chaver l'chad man di omer. So obviously they want because it's makom shechav l'cherem. So v'heich mahani matzias poyol balabayas because it's kiyad balabayas dam. That's the only rights. Tabli tovs malchov makom shechav l'cherem v'shanim poyol diyodu kiyad balabayas. It's a pretty simple question. TA 26, and I'm pretty happy to say that I got that one right. So that's TA 26. That shiny poil the yodoi kiad bal habayasu. Okay. However, it's your type is welcome shalom al, which is why perhaps a magmiyah matzil chaver is low kana chavero. Okay. All right. Maybe TV. No. Okay. Let's continue. Let's see the next Mishnah. Says the Mastis. Ras Metzia. So let's say you found or you saw a lost object. And you physically just landed your body on top of it. Now that's not a kinyan. And then somehow someone else does a chazak on it afterwards. Landing on it doesn't apparently do anything. Says the Gemara. It's an interesting din. That as long as you're within the 4 amos of Hefker, that's it. No one else can be typhused afterwards. So so my timer tikkun rabbanan deloy aslin suye. We don't want to start getting fights. So once you're within the dalad almas, that's it. You're koined. Therefore, if anyone comes afterwards, they're just going to back off. So there's not going to get into any issues. You're in your own personal space, so no one's going to fight with you. So that sounds beautiful. So Amar Abaye Meisav Rav Chia Bar Yosef Peah. He has to kasha with regard to the dinim of Peah, Masechtas Peah, and Omer Rabba Meisav Rav Yaakov Bar Edim Nezikin. He asked a different question, laws of Nezikin on this. So Omer Meisav Rav Chia Bar Rav Yosef Peah, not the mixas Peah. Let's say a person took some of the Peah that was already gathered up before, the Zarak al Hashar, and he threw the rest. Says Rashi, Kili Liknois. He threw it to be koined. So Ein Loba Klum. So in that situation, that's nothing. That's not considered to be a kinyan. Nafal aleha, but if he physically fell on it, and this is going to be the kasha, or paras talis aleha, you spread your garment over it. Ma'avirin oiso himenu, ma'avirin oisoi himenu, your Passover from it. The chen ba'oimer shicha, when it comes to the dinim of standing grains or shicha, the din is you're koinet. So v'yamrit arba amashal adam koinet b'chol makoim. Understand, if in fact you can be koinet in any place anyway, so nikli arba amos tidei. I understand, why do we say that he fell on it? We should just say that he was koinet automatically with the daled amos. So why does it say that he fell on it? Arba amos should have been enough. So hakamai skinan deloy omer akni. V'chi atkan rabbanan kil omer mayhavi. Understand? So if the rabbanon is masakin it, so if he didn't say it, it should still work. Mekivan the nafel going down to the mafil nichle the nikni arba amos lo nichle the nikni. So really his arba amos should have been koinet. But the fact that he fell on it, he was showing that that is how he wanted to be koinet. And since this is how he wanted to be koinet, so therefore it doesn't work, right? That's the reason. So ma'avir noisu imenu, like we will pass it over from him, which we basically will take it. We basically take it away. Basically, it's not. He doesn't have a kinyan over it. And Rashi says, "I feel rashal mikri." Even if someone would take it from him, it's not an issue, and they're not rishayim. Which is in Kedushin, you're called a Rasha. That's mishum de efshule lemitrach lemizbin arachriti. Could have gotten a different land. Of a Metzia behafker deleko lememerhachi feel a Rasha lemikri. You're not going to be called a Rasha. So if you're mahapich b'charara, you see someone's mahapich b'charara trying to get something, and then you grab it first, you're a Rasha, because you could have just gotten something else. But if it's Metzia, we don't say that. So the first one who grabs it is fine. So we see clearly that this person who landed on it did not want to be kinda it in the normal fashion of Arba Amos, and therefore, since instead he used his nefila doesn't work. Rapapa Omer Kita Kinu Le Rabbanan Arba Amos Ba'alma. When do we say that it works? Is for example in a simta. Anyone can go there into Rishus Harabim, or Masida Rishus Harabim, V'hi Hefker L'Rabim, Limshaych L'Tocha, Hatzrich L'Natzis Minadchak. So that's when they say this. However, Basada de Mahabayis, so Tikkanu Rabbanan, when it comes to the din of Peah, is mamash in someone's field. So there's no din of Arba Amos there. V'afagan Zacha Be'Rachman Be'Gava, even though maybe the Rabbanan are Mezakit, Ki Zacha Rachmana L'Haluchiba. It's only that you could go in there. V'in Kuti Peah, we allow you to take these corners of the field. L'Mahavi Chatzeroi L'Zacha Be. To make it into your own chutzner, so that you'll be able to do kinyanim through your daled almas. It's not your daled almas. Your daled almas cannot be koina in someone else's field, and therefore that's the reason why it didn't work over there. Omer Rava Moisiv Rav Yaakov Ridi Nezikin, which is our Mishnah. Nafal. So what happened? Rasa Metzia. You found or you saw an object, and you fell on it. Someone else was kainit. Someone else did a proper kinyan. It always works. The question is, what does b'chol makom mean? Especially what we just said before. So niknule arba amos today. So then, why doesn't his arba amos work? Why does the second person get it? You should say, okay, he fell on it, but he also was within obviously dalad amos if he fell on it. So we say the same shakavatara. Hachamai skinan deloimer acne, because he didn't use this proper lashon. So I have a tikkun rabbanan. If this is a tikkun rabbanan, kilomer mayhavi, it should still work. No, because kivanda nafaleha. Once he fell on it, goli died in the mafil nichle dinikni. Barba amos lo nichle dinikni. It's clear that he only wanted it to work. He didn't want the arba amos to be the form of kinyan. He wanted it in the fila. Rav Sheshes Omer kita kinu rabbanan besimta do dachi rabim. Only in a place where there's not so many people. However, in a public street, where there's tons of people, lo tekinu rabbanon. You can't say that you have daled amos. You know, it's just a rabbim. There's hundreds of thousands of people around, so the rabbanon aren't going to say that in that place it'll work. I b'chol makom kaimer, which is mashma, including numerous places. Kol makom usui sidi rishus harabim. It's just coming to include sidi rishus harabim, but doesn't include the rishus harabim itself. Okay. So this leads us to question 9. It says, "Heichen tiknu rabbanon adam kinyan daled amos, v'heichen lo tekinu lo." So clearly, according to this, Sidi Rishus Harabim will be a good place to do a kinyan. Also, in a simta, ki tekinu rabbanon b'simta, deloy dache rabim. So that also will work. However, in a Rishus Harabim, where there's dache rabim, lo tekinu rabbanon. So that's the answer for question 9. In a simta or a Sidi Rishus Harabim, it works. However, Rishus Harabim, it doesn't work. Also in the Sada Bal Habayis. But Sada Bal Habayis lo tekinu li rabbanon. Because again, even though you can go there to collect payah, that doesn't give you rights to do other stuff. Okay. Which is the same question as TB27. Heichen lo tekinu chachamim ma'adam sheyikne b'dalet amos. So I wrote bebayis shalo, okay, like his field. Megam Rishus Harabim of a kind of a symptom of a Sidi Rishus Harabim. Okay, I knew this pretty well, I'd say. Yud Omid Beis, which is TB27. Okay. All right, let's continue. V'yom Reish Lakish. So Reish Lakish said, and we're going to have Reish Lakish and Rabbi Yochanan here. V'yom Reish Lakish mishum Abba Kain Bardula Katana ein lo chatzer, ve'ein lo arba amos. A katan has no chatzer, and also no daled amos. Says Rashi. What does that mean? Im zark lo bala get l'toy chatzera. If let's say the man throws her a get into her chatzer, lo kansel chatzera is garishbo. So we say that this girl who's a katana cannot be divorced. Also, let's say she's in Rishus Harabim, Mazarku lo get ba'arba amoseha, and it's within her arba amos. V'yafal gav the gedola migrisha, even though it would work if she was a gedolas, because the Gemara in Gittin says Hazar get leishto betoch beita. It works. Ha'isa menes Rishus Harabim Mazarku lo karav lo migrashas. The whole suffix is a karav lo, suffix karav lo. But if it was definitely close to her, it works. Why? Because of her. She's kaina. Her daled amos is kaina, or her chatzer is kaina. But Reish Lakish says it doesn't work when it comes to a katana. Rabbi Yochanan mishum Rabbi Yana Amar yesh lo chatzer v'yesh lo arba amos. No, Rabbi Yochanan says it's not true. So if you would throw her a get in the Rishus Harabim, she has daled amos and she would be divorced. Also, therefore, if you would put it into her chatzer, she would be divorced. So, but my kimifli, what is this machlokas Reish Lakish Rabbi Yochanan? Mar savar chatzer mishum yadis rabbi. So one says the chatzer is connected to her hand. Just like she has a hand, chatzer nam isla. So too she also has the din of chatzer. After all, the pasuk says v'nasin biyada. You put in her hand, and her hand is her rishus. So therefore, as you can put into her hand, obviously, so you can also put into her chatzer. Mar savar chatzer mishum shlichus es rabbi. It's comparable to a shliach. As the pasuk says, "V'sholcha" in the Gemara in Kedusha, in the beginning of the second parak says, "Molamet she'isha is a shliach," that a woman can make a shliach. So therefore, her chatzer is kind of like an agent. So v'chiheicha de shlichus leisla, just like a katana cannot make a shliach, because the dinim of shlichus, it says ish. You need, and this is by Gittin and Pesach, ish ksiv. So it has to be, you have to be an adult, not a katana. So chatzer nami leisla, so she also doesn't have a chatzer. So mikaman di'amar chatzer mishum shlichus es raboi. Does anyone say that a chatzer is connected to shlichus? Wasanya. Biyadoi, that you put the get into her hands, ainly el yadoi. How do we know if you put it into these other places? And she enters there and locks the door. So in that situation, this actually Taka is talking about Geneva. Not only if you find the Geneva in the person's hand, but if, let's say, he takes the Geneva, he enters there and locks the door and steals it, so he's also chayiv. So we find that you're chayiv in all cases. If you want to tell me that this ganav's chatzar is like shlichus, it's kind of a cute point. We know that there's in shliach devar avera. So what? If how could he be chayiv for the chatzar of the chatzar shlichus in shliach devar avera? So Ravina hechad amrinan dein shliach devar avera hechad shliach bar chayuvahu. The only say that is when, again, it's dibri rav dibri talmud dibri mishaymin. We're talking about a person that makes a decision. So if I ask you to do me a favor and steal from me, I'm not responsible because you should have thought better than to have listened to me. However, this is an inanimate object. So even though it's true, chatzar could actually be one al shlichus, but it doesn't mean the same concept of ein shliach navar. You can't apply that because that's only when we're dealing with a person or two people. So in this case, we're on a chatzar, since certainly the ganav's chatzar the ganav will be chayav. El miyata. However, a person says to his wife, Eved to a servant, Sa'u, go out, Ginvuli, and go and steal from me. The la b'nei chiyuv inhu. So in this situation, they're not b'nei chiyuva, says Rashi l'shalim. They don't have to pay, as it said in Bava Kama, Hem shechavu b'acher b'turin. If they harm others, then they're potter, because it's your wife. Hachinami d'machayev sholchan. Does that mean the husband's going to be chayev in that case? No. Ish of Eved b'nei chiyuv inhu. Technically, they are b'nei chiyuva. They just have the connection to this man, either the master or the husband. So therefore, just practically, they don't have the financial ability to be able to pay. If their status would change and that she would be divorced or the slave would be freed, then they would have to pay. So they are actually b'nei chiyuva. It's just that in their current status, it just doesn't work. So, but that's not, again, a raya. Where do we say this concept? You could do it or not do it. You have a choice. You have free will, and you decide to steal. And therefore, that person who made that choice, he is responsible. In this situation, it's not the chatzar's choice. The chatzar is, again, an inanimate object. So, my benayu, they almost sound like the same thing. The first shot we said is that a chatzar is, we don't say in shliach devar avera because they're not. It's a la b'nei chiyuva, right? It's a la b'nei chiyuva. That's one possibility. Here we're saying it's because it's iboy avad ilo boy avad, but a chatzar is the bal karcha moisefla, right? So what's the difference? So ikaminayu kayin diarmel Yisrael. You have a kayin that says to Yisrael, "Save kaddish li isha gerusha." I want you to go and marry a gerusha for me. Now, what's the problem? Says Rashi, "Mishas kedushin arba mishlam lo yikchu." So there's an isser for a kohen to get married to this woman. So, but he appointed a shliach that this kohen, I want to marry this woman. But now in this situation, it's not an avera for the shliach. It's only an avera for the kohen. So inami ish di'amru isha. A man says to a woman, "Akfali katan." This is actually is a whole sugi over here, sugi elsewhere about this. I want you to cut the payas and the beard off of this katan. Now Rashi says, "In isha inmuz heres lo tokifu lafi deinu babal tashchas." Okay, the Gemara in Kedushin discusses 3 mitzvahs say in which women are still pater. Mitzvahs loisa say rather that women are still pater, which is in addition to Baal Tamla Mason not becoming Tameh, women are not Zahir because of Gzer Sakasav. It's B'nai Aaron V'l B'nai Aaron. But in addition to that, Baal Takif and Baal Tashchas, the women are allowed to shave and also cut the payas. And one of the reasons is because it's pashut. Generally, women don't have beards. So since there's no din about tashchis, there's no din about takif. So since she's not mechuyev b'davar, it's the same thing as the Yisrael. He is not mechuyev. There's no isser in him marrying a kohen, marrying a gerusha. It's just he's doing shlichus for the kohen who cannot marry. So to the man is not allowed to cut off someone else's payas because he's mechuyev in payas, but the woman is not. The shliach is not. So hachlish the emer kol hechad iboy avid iboy lo avid. It's all totally on choice. Lo machayev sholchay. So hachanami iboy avid iboy lo avid lo machayev sholchay. Sholchan. We would say the same thing. It's still free will. It's that person had a choice to cut the payas or not to cut the payas. Person had a choice to go through being a shliach to have this kohen marry the gerusha. L'hachlishan the amrit kol hechad shliach labar chiyuva mechayev sholcha hachanami kivan de labani chiyuvanin hu mechayev sholchan. So actually, in this situation, there is no chiyuv because I'm a Yisrael. I'm allowed to marry a gerusha. I, this woman, am allowed to cut off my payas, and therefore the din would be different. So therefore, that's the distinction between these two cases, these two reasons. When do we not say in shlech devar avera? Is it iboy avid ilo boy avid? So they still have iboy avid iboy lo avid. So maybe we would still say in shlech devar avera, or do we say that yesh shlech devar avera because they're not b'nei chiyuva? Okay, fine. So, okay, we're saying this whole machlokus Reish Lakish Rabbi Yochanan is how do we understand the din chatzers like a yad or shliach? Doesn't everyone hold like a yad? How do we know? This is where I stumbled before. That when it says yada, this is referring to her hand, namely that she could be koine the get. So too in her rishus. So we see clearly when it comes to a get, it talks about yad and then it talks about a chatzer. So clearly a chatzer is because of yad. So the answer is you're right. When it comes to gittin, there's no question we learn out chatzer from her hand because that's based on this drasha. Ki pligu in Metzia. The question is when it comes to finding a lost object. That is where the question is. Mar Savras, we continue Yud Alpha but Aleph, Yalfin Metzia Meget. Mar Savra Yalfin Metzia Meget, says Rashi. Ki heichidi gabi get isla chatzer l'katana, gabi Metzia nami isla. So this is the point. When it comes to gittin, it will work because if it's totally that yad is a chatzer, is how we learn out the din of chatzer, that if you put a get into her chatzer, that it's a get. So therefore, a katana has a yad. So therefore, if you put it there, everyone should hold it. Should work. The question is that's only by gittin. However, we're talking about over here of a case of a metzia. We're talking about if they find a lost object. If there's a lost object that's found, are they kind of dalad amis, or if it's found in their chutzner, are they kind of this metzia? So the question is, do we learn it out from get? And therefore it will work, and therefore she should have her own dalad amos. Not by a boy, but by a girl. Not by a girl, but by a boy. Because we see by gerushin, by a woman or a katana, that she does have a hand and she has a chutzner. So does that apply also to a boy? Each one says their own thing. It says Rashi, Rav Shimon Lakish Omer le'inyan Metzia, Rav Yochanan le'inyan get, Inami Mar Omer Katan, Omer Katana. Maybe Reish Lakish and Rav Yochanan are not arguing at all. The question is, maybe it only works for a katana, but it doesn't work for a katan. So one was saying that it doesn't work. It's talking about a katan. The one who says it does work is for a katana. Alternatively, the one who says that it does work is in gittin, and the one who says it doesn't work is maybe in metzia. Okay, we're going to stop there. Question 10. Omer Reish Lakish Mishom Ababardo Katana in Lo Chatzer. Yochanan Yeshel Chatzer. Ketza Nitain was Yashiv Demar Omer Chada Mar Omer Chada V'lo Pligi. So this is just basically straight up Rashi, which is question 10. Reish Lakish Amru Indian Metzia. Rabbi Yochanan Amru Indian Get. Reish Lakish Amru Bekatan. Rabbi Yehuda Rabbi Yochanan rather Bekatana. Okay, that's question 10. Which is basically straight up Rashi. Okay, but we'll also put it here too. That V'iboy Seima Mar Omer Chada Viloi Pligi. Okay. TA 27. B'masad Remember was a Canaan. Okay. TB 28. Mehem Hata'amim Shenemru Al Kach Shein Matnas Kahuna Adkan.